This is Niels on Dynasty. Please like, share, and subscribe. Be kind, helpful, and grateful because it's better than being a jerk. No one likes a jerk. And buy some gold, silver. Oh, no, don't buy gold. Buy silver, platinum, and crystallized osmium only. Let's get it. Okay, this right here, since you're ready to get going, is how much longer will the gold bull run last? It came in 7 months ago. So it's 7 months old, but I wanted to hear what they have to say about their opinion of how long
Gold has been on a tear this year, hitting new all-time highs month after month and signaling the start of a bull market. Investors are tracking price charts, consulting advisors, and asking the big question.
You're so sweet.
How high can gold go?
I knew you were
With
nice.
this surge, many new investors are joining in, putting their trust in one of the oldest forms of money. But just as important as knowing when to buy in is knowing when the current cycle is nearing its peak.
Yes.
In today's video, we'll explore three key factors driving gold's rise and what to look for when the market starts to cool off.
Of course, it's Market Pulse. It's obviously not my video. I've already...
For more in-depth insights and compelling stories in the world of precious metals, don't forget to subscribe and stay updated with our latest videos. Your support helps us continue bringing you valuable content. Gold has been trading comfortably above $2,600 per ounce, but just a year ago it was less than $1,900 an ounce. A 40% rise in 1 year is nothing to sneeze at, and early investors of gold are congratulating themselves on decisions wisely made. But eventually the momentum will wane, as it does for all investments. There are three drivers of the current gold rally that are continuing to sustain today. And there is a fourth one, a wild card, that is always present and can appear at any given moment to send gold either soaring or crashing.
Not like Santa Claus. Santa Claus only shows up once a year.
The first and one of the most significant forces driving gold to new all-time highs is the unprecedented buying by central banks around the world.
Now, on that in particular point, the unprecedented buying, it's not unprecedented. It was forecast. If you knew where to read the script, it was written in English that they were going to be buying tons of gold several years ago. And I've been saying it. It's called Basel III. And under Basel III, all 187 countries' central banks, which is 187 central banks, have to increase their gold holdings from the old system that they were using before and since 2008, was where they had to have only a 10% gold holdings in their banks, in their reserves. Under Basel III, they have to have like either 22 or 27% holdings in reserves to stay in business as a central bank. So every one of those 187 central banks over the past couple of years has been buying, or a year and a half, 2 years, a couple years, I'd say, has been buying up gold because Basel III enactment starts July 1st, 2025.
According to data from the World Gold Council, central banks have been net purchasers of gold for over a decade, with recent years breaking eyebrow-raising records. In 2022, central banks bought over 1,000 metric tons of gold, the highest level in over 50 years. In 2023, central banks put on a repeat performance and bought another 1,037 tons of gold. Central banks around the world now own over 17% of the entire supply of gold ever mined. One of the main reasons that central banks hold gold is as a risk-off asset, and the exact amount they hold is usually managed by a formula that takes into account total foreign exchange reserves. But just like wealthy individual investors, central banks will accumulate more gold during periods of economic and geopolitical uncertainty. One of the most interesting theories surrounding central bank gold buying in recent years relates to inflation. As inflation rises and erodes the purchasing power of fiat currencies, gold becomes even more attractive. Central banks may increase their gold holdings as part of a broader strategy to preserve the value of their reserves.
That's a good question.
Since gold historically holds its value even when inflation runs high, it serves as a crucial asset to protect against the devaluation.
And actually, I can tell you why. I actually do know why. 79 is asking how come central banks don't buy silver. Right now, under Basel III, gold is listed as a tier 1 asset and can be used on your balance sheets. But if you read the fine print go through definitions of Basel III and the definitions of the words, and they give explanations for, you'll find out that actually silver is also by proxy a tier 1 asset, that even though it's not listed as a tier 1 asset, it's perceived to be a tier 1 asset under the new rules and regulations. So it baffles me why they're not buying it. That's all I can say. But yeah, I suggest everyone read Basel III and figure it out, see what you think.
Valuation of fiat currencies in their foreign reserves. And that brings us to the second major driver of the current gold market: inflation and a devaluing dollar. These two forces are closely intertwined. As inflation rises, the purchasing power of the US dollar declines, meaning that the same amount of money buys fewer goods and services over time. Between 2020 and 2024, inflation in the US surged by over 21%, with 2022 alone seeing an increase of 9.1%.
9.1%.
The highest inflation rate.
Did they tell us in 2022 that we had 9.1% inflation? I don't think they did.
In over 40 years.
Interesting fact we just
Historically, gold has been seen as a hedge against inflation, and during periods of rising prices, investors often turn to gold to preserve their wealth. This dynamic is playing out today as inflation's bite has sunk in over the last 4 years, pushing more people to buy gold as a safe store of value. In 1990, the average new car cost $15,000, which you could buy with about 39 troy ounces of gold. In 2023, the average new car costs just a hair over $47,000, which you could purchase with approximately 24 ounces of gold. This shows how gold has not only preserved wealth against inflation as a phenomenal store of value, but also actually increased in value over time when you consider purchasing power.
And if you consider geopolitical and other financial institutions' moves in a bull gold market or a precious metals market bull run, it can have devastating effects to the price of gold, which actually increases their profit margin. So it could be manipulated. Gold price could be right now being manipulated in an upward manner intentionally.
Longtime investors in gold bugs know this and have many anecdotes and
examples. Of course, no one has a problem with things being manipulated in their favor.
When inflation appears, gold demand rises in response. And that brings us to the final driver: interest rates set by the Federal Reserve. Longtime viewers of our channel will know we watch the Fed funds rate closely, as well as other monetary policies set by the US Central Bank. It's a well-known and often repeated fact that low interest rates are good for gold, but it's the combination of high inflation and low rates that make a particularly appealing case for gold investing.
All right, enough of that one. Let's go to something even more interesting that I really wanted to talk about. That was just to get y'all's attention. This is about, wait, I got the wrong screen here. Present, that's what I want to share screen. Antoine, whatever his name is. I'll get you his name here. Anton Petrov. This guy is freaking a guru of scientific crap. Let me go ahead. He's talking about the new infrared contact lenses. That contact lens you see on the screen is actually would give you infrared vision along with regular vision that you have.
Anton, and in this video we're going to discuss a somewhat intriguing discovery, or I guess technically a somewhat intriguing creation coming out of a Chinese university where researchers were able to create infrared lenses, or technically something that allows humans to perceive infrared light as if it was optical emissions, even allowing humans to perceive different colors. And though obviously seeing infrared with, for example, infrared cameras is already achievable, in this case, the main achievement is that we basically require absolutely no cameras, no batteries, nothing. You just take a contact lens, put it in your eye, and you're suddenly able to see infrared. And so let's talk about this study in a little bit more detail, starting with the study itself. A study by Yu Chan Ma and the team you see right here from the University of Science and Technology of China. And so what exactly was this for? And I guess, why did the scientists try to create this to begin with? Well, the main idea here is to remove the limitations of mammalian vision. Because when it comes to light perception, most mammals still have a very limited perception when it comes to different wavelengths. Pretty much most mammals can only perceive a relatively small fraction of the visible light.
And also an interesting fact here, the photovoltaic cell for the solar panels only takes a certain wavelength of light and turns it to power, and it's a small amount of the wavelengths that it takes, and that's why they're so low performing. That's fixing to change as well, because the same technology he's talking about here can be added to the solar panel and increase the optics of the solar rays collection of different light waves from the sun to get power from, and it increases the amount of power per solar panel because of that. So lots of other technologies are coming along with this invention that they come up with here.
Between 400 and 700 nanometers in wavelengths. But over half of solar radiation is also in the infrared emissions.
And
Specifically over 700 nanometers in wavelength, that's completely imperceptible to most complex life. And though some animals are able to see it to some extent, none of the mammals can. Now, obviously, we can sense it with our skin, because that's basically just heat. But when it comes to our eyes, there's definitely a major limitation. Yet we know that other animals, like for example reptiles and especially snakes, seem to be able to perceive infrared because it obviously helps them detect animals at night. All warm-blooded animals emit a lot of infrared radiation, basically making all warm-blooded animals light up in the infrared. But in case of mammalian eyes, because of the properties of opsins, or the photodetecting cells inside our eyes, it's just impossible by nature. And so as a result, we always kind of relied on additional technology. For example, night vision goggles or infrared goggles that are able to actively convert infrared emissions into something that's more visible. But in the past, researchers actually experimented with mice to try to do something a little bit different. They tried to give mice natural infrared perception by modifying their retina. And in this case, this was achieved by injecting the retina of mice with very specific nanoparticles containing a bunch of rare metals, such as, for example, ytterbium and erbium, that naturally diffract the light in such a way that it changes wavelengths. But although this is possible in mice, this is naturally not so easy for humans, mostly because not everyone is going to be okay injecting their eyes with some kind of a nanoparticle. And so as a result, for the past 5 to 6 years, the same team tried to figure out if they can actually turn this into a contact lens, specifically by building a very small polymer that can then be injected into a typical lens and then provide infrared vision by just inserting it into your eye, which is exactly what they were doing for the past few years, and which is exactly what this whole study is about, because they finally succeeded. By using very similar nanoparticles containing ytterbium and erbium, and by combining this with a bunch of polymers to create soft lenses, they were able to create the first successful prototype. But the first one was actually for mice, not for humans, mostly because it was not clear if it's going to be safe. And here, these contact lenses were specifically designed by integrating upconversion nanoparticles, also known as UCNPs, into very soft, non-invasive, and wearable polymeric materials, very similar to what we usually have inside a contact lens. But the material had to have a very specific refractive index in order to work correctly with the infrared light. And so the main challenge in this thing was to try to pack enough of these nanoparticles in order to convert sufficient infrared light without altering the lenses and without making them too opaque, or basically in order to maintain their transparency. And well, eventually, after a lot of trial and error, looks like they succeeded. They found the right composition and the right density to create something with the correct refractive index that would then, in theory, convert infrared into optical emissions. But what's even more impressive in this case is that they were able to design it in such a way that they were able to convert 3 separate wavelengths of infrared into 3 separate wavelengths of optical light corresponding to different colors. Or just to rephrase this, they were able to convert infrared light into color vision, something that's never really been achieved with anything before, and something that's even difficult with a typical infrared camera. But once this was created, it now had to be tested. And as always, the first test was with mice. And here, right away, mice could sense the visible light and easily distinguish near-infrared information, even though other mice without the lenses could not perceive anything. And so here, by performing several experiments by using the infrared light and regular light, researchers definitively established that mice could now perceive all of the infrared emissions. But here, a much more important test was the test of safety. Was this actually safe? Because here, the main goal was to create a polymeric nanocomposite that was suitable for human eyes. And while all of the tests in mice suggested that there was no risk for cornea or for any eye damage, and there was no inflammation reported in any of the groups, which meant that the next test had to be done in humans. Now here I could not actually find any information on who they used, but this could be just the result of the privacy clause in most studies. Either way, by synthesizing the same nanoparticles and by creating the same lenses, they now try to do the same with human participants. And just like with mice, humans could now perceive infrared emissions coming from a very small infrared light. For example, in most cases, any kind of infrared blinking, like the Morse code, was instantly seen by a person wearing the lenses and was not seen by anyone without them. Moreover, humans were also able to see a kind of a trichromatic infrared light, basically visible as 3 separate colors: blue, red, and green. And so here the infrared light was directly converted into 3 primary colors visible by the participants. And to be more exact, the wavelength of 800 to 1600 nanometers in range was now converted to green, red, and blue, which was basically a definitive proof that it's possible for humans to perceive infrared emissions without any invasive procedure.
Anyhow, that was kick-ass. I add myself to stage here. It's interesting that they're able to convert infrared into color vision for the eye. I'm actually interested in those because I was wondering how, like in operational mode out in the field, how someone could put those in and still have regular vision and infrared vision, because you would actually need both at nighttime. And from what he just explained, it seems like it'll be the infrared is changed into a colored light for optical of the human eye to receive and register. So we'd have to get used to different colors being perceived from images that we see as they produce different amounts of heat. That would be interesting. Yeah, 79. I look in the mirror. I have that. Actually, this I have red, white, blue, and green eyes. I have hazel eyes, so they're blue-green. And obviously, if you listen, hold on, silence everyone. Here's the first part of the tip. This is the hint. It's charades. Who can guess what I just did? Whoa. Yeah, I'm pretty good at was that charades with that game? Hell, I don't even know what the fucking game's called. $79. Oh, $79. Oh, so Gerald's here. I thought, Gerald, what you doing, man? I thought you were at like dinner or something like that, man. The hell you doing? Smoke some more pot. It'll take care of that. That, or go out and get stung by a bee, because that takes care of Parkinson's disease. And Parkinson's disease starts off with twitching. So you might need some bee venom in you. It's only, oh no, you're on the East Coast, so it's 9:30, 9:50. Yeah, it is bedtime, I guess. Must suck changing time zones so often. 2 hours here, 2 hours there. So what subject do you want to talk about? Deja vu? Deja vu. Any particular subject anyone want to talk about? Or do you want me to throw up some sort of video to watch or something? Talk about? But again, back to the gold thing, I still think that it was planned. Basel III obviously was planned because it was written up in 2008, and they didn't have implementation starting until when they knew the precious metals markets would be in their run. In which case, because it was all written up, and all the institutional, professional, financial people who wrote this paperwork up for Basel III back in 2010 or 11 to prevent another 2008 debacle, they all knew when the bull run was coming for precious metals. So they probably did this enactment starting July 1st, 2025, intentionally to have some effect. And I'm trying to figure out what the end game of that would be, why they would come up with those financial regulatory changes to prevent a financial collapse like in 2008, why they would wait so long to implement them. And obviously it was because they wanted to implement them during a precious metals run, because that's what's happened. And they did this intentionally for the Basel III thing. So there's some more in-depth thought process to be put into why Basel III enactment starts July 1st, 2025, when it was written in, I think, like 2010 and 11, 12. I don't know when it was actually finished being written. Taking a very hot bath with Epsom salt and baking soda also clears your body of heavy metals like aluminums and stuff like that get introduced in your body throughout the years. Oh, cocaine. Yeah. The song. Who is that? The song that, what was his name? If you want to hang out. Cocaine. I don't recall the lyrics. What was his name though? He was with the Beatles. No, it wasn't Harris, was it? Yeah, it was Harris. Harris did that song, I believe. Cocaine. If you wanna hang out. Cocaine. Don't recall the lyrics. It was Clapton, Eric Clapton. Okay. Eric Clapton. Him and Harris were good friends, though. That's probably why I thought it was Harris. I think his name was Harris. George Harrison. Pablo Escobar. Here's something interesting to ask a politician. Whatever happened with the $12 billion that Americans confiscated from Pablo Escobar in the drug seizures? They seized his money and it's supposed to have been held. I bet that money's gone. All 12 billion of it. And it's not supposed to be. But no one asked questions, so it's probably gone. And there's probably no record of it disappearing. Well, that's just my thought process. I could be wrong. They could have an accurate count of it sitting in a DEA agent's office. I doubt it. So, hey, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about that senator getting arrested and then getting lit off? You want to talk about them finding the Chinese connection to the financing of the riots in LA? Or do you want to talk about maybe since they discovered who's financing the riots, if you think there's going to be any more riots? Well, then this is a good one to talk about. I just saw a video today. I didn't save it to display, but they showed the organization that's funding those gas masks. I'm sure everyone saw being pushed out and everything. And it's a Chinese Communist Party backed group that funds revolutionary type groups like in Cuba and Venezuela, and they're trying it here in America. But see, again, follow the money. As soon as you cut the money off, again, back to my original question, since they found out who's financing these quote unquote riot protests, do you think they'll continue now that they know who's funding it? Or do you think they cut off the money, and that means that any other further protests from here on out will be a lot more peaceful because there is no financial backing to pay for the agitators? And since we know there's paid agitators, is it truly an American changing Civil War event, or is it just to be perceived like that? Yeah, NGOs, non-government organizations that under the Biden administration, they got like $22 billion in the last 6 weeks of his administration just handed to them. No receipts, no requirements. One NGO got handed $2 billion on a promise that they would turn in the paperwork for what they were going to use it for within 5 years. Fuck me. I'd like to give the government the deal like that. Hey, government, give me $2 billion, and within 5 years, I'll give you a list of what I'm going to spend it on. Fuck. Where do I sign up? And then you find out all these people that are financing this crap, they're all fucking wealthy, fucking leftist liberal types or communist billionaires or socialist billionaires that are looking to take down our fucking country. It's pathetic. And if you've been keeping up with how Saudi treated the past president and the current president, and you actually look at old videos and see how they were presented in their country of Saudi Arabia when they entered there, there's a vast difference between the last president and this president. It's because the knowledge that the presidents have holding over the Saudi king, and Trump's got all the cards. And that's where I knew that Saudi Arabia was going to be not join BRICS and join America and partner with us on energy, making America the future. Oh yeah, are you guys interested in the Hawaiian power grid? I got a video of the Hawaiian power grid and how it operates and how they are having lots of problems with their power grid because of the way it's operated. And they're probably going to be buying micro nuclear reactors because that would be a perfect cure for their power problem. Man, I don't. Okay, true story. Only time. Now, I drove through LA on the highway a couple of times, but I never stopped. I was straight highway to get to I-10, fucking cut west or east, excuse me. And actually, no, I did that once. The next time I did it, I went around. They got a roundabout further, and I didn't even go into LA. But the one time I actually did go into LA and spent the night, old connecting partner ended up with a 53 Bug that wasn't his. It belonged to my second cousin's husband, and he was supposed to pay $3,000 for it, and he didn't. He took the car and headed down to LA and basically said he wasn't going to pay for it. So I flew down there on a one-way ticket and took a taxi to his ex-wife's house where I knew he was staying, and he wasn't there that night. And I told her I was going to spend the night there, and I expected the keys to that car when I woke up, or else I'd come looking for him, and he didn't want that. So I stayed there the night, woke up, the keys were there, and I left. But that's the only time I actually stayed in LA, and I didn't like it, and I wasn't there for a good reason. It wasn't a good vibe or anything like that to start with. So obviously, when I got there, it wasn't a good vibe, and I have nothing but not good vibes for LA. There are not good people there, shall we say? There's not good people up here too, but down there's a lot more of them. And quite frankly, after this immigration roundup, there might be 3 million people less in the LA County because there was like 15 million in LA County, and at least 3 to 4 million of them are illegal aliens. So if they reduce their population by almost 1/3, their tax dollars will go a lot further. Ooh, now St. Louis Obispo, C4, that place, depending, it's beautiful to me. Because of the contrast, it's like deserty by the ocean, but yet it's got a freaking nice ass town. The Polytechnic Institute is there, a real nice college. what's up to Angelina? A real nice, I'm in California, a real nice college area. St. Louis Obispo, I actually like that area a lot. You got caught up in the legal system. What you talking about? They tagged you up, got you some sort of a court hold where you can't move out of there or something like that. You know, Cali's beautiful, man. It's the politicians that make it horrid. I was talking to some people. I think it's Hudson Valley Prepping. He was complaining that gas prices are fixing to hit $3 a gallon. I was like, shit, I'd love to see $3 a gallon. They're like $5 out here. Have been for years. Yeah, I don't like traveling by plane either. It's just something, I mean, I have and I do if I have to, but I try and live my life to where I don't have to be on a plane at any future point in time. I don't plan on going to Europe. I don't plan on going to Asia. I don't plan on going to Australia. I don't plan on going to Hawaii. So there's no reason for me to fly. Yeah, best thing to do. Well, there's several best things to do depending on the circumstance, but comply. Holy crap. It's like that in Jefferson Parish in Louisiana, New Orleans. They have the highest prosecution rate in the world. It's all illegal. But they control that whole area. Tell you what, driving, if you have to go across country, take the time to do that. If you have the time and availability to do that, it's much more beautiful. Much more beautiful. Of course, I can put you to sleep too, because there's some boring areas where it's flat and there is nothing, but it's actually beautiful traveling across country. I've done it 6 times, I think, drove across country. Never got bored any one time. You always come across interesting like state and county parks. Like I came across this Volcano Valley. Shit, where the hell was that? Idaho or something? Hell, I don't know. I was driving out here somewhere where you wouldn't expect a volcanic rock to take up a whole valley. And it looked like freaking Hawaii, and it was like in Idaho or something like that. You're not supposed to tell anyone. I'm going to time you out, 79. Oh, I imagine it does look beautiful. That's a beautiful country up there. Yeah, that's a nice area. I encourage everyone to go move out of cities into the country. Get, a couple acres for yourself to where you can enjoy life without an interruption of others telling you, no, you can't have a dog without a deposit. No, you can't have birds. No, you have to, or HOAs. No, you can't plant that there. We don't want you to. Palm Springs is awesome. Yeah, I can't speak for anyone else. I've been in the Bay Area, in Concord, California, which is the East Bay of the Bay Area, or the San Francisco Bay Area. The Bay, that was a journey. The song Journey, the city by the bay. There's 57 cities by the bay. There's San Francisco, and then there's South Bay, East Bay, and North Bay. I spent like 7 years living in the East Bay and the other 23 years living in the North Bay. And they got some beautiful crap out here, man. People kind of suck. Politicians make it suck. Prices suck. But it's also good because I'm getting an early retirement from here. And I did a video a couple months ago on the how far the dollar goes in each state due to each state's particular regulations and taxes and fees and whatnot. And it said a US dollar spent in California, you only get 88-cent value because state taxes, rules, and regulations consume 12%. But if you spend that same dollar in Alabama, you get $1.12 worth of buying power because they don't have any state tax or as much regulations that eat up funds, and you actually get more spending power for your dollar. And since I'm early retiring, coming from California and getting retirement from California, if I go to Alabama, my buying power increases by 24%. I'm like, hello. That makes early retirement even sound better. So I'm going for it. Sorry, I'm pouring some tea right now. But yeah, and that's where I think they like gas prices are daggone near half what they are here in California and Alabama. So like where I'm used to spending $45-$50 to fill up my tank here, first time I probably go to fill up, I'll hand them a 50 and I'll have to go back in and get $25 change instead of they consumes the whole 50. You know, it's gonna be awesome. Bro. I'll be like, holy crap, man, I got extra money. What? I'm used to spending so much more for the same shit, you know. So hopefully it'll benefit me. I grew up here in America, down in that area. I like the rivers. I like, you know, there's stuff to do down there. People are cool. Deja vu. I am in Sonoma County, just south of Santa Rosa. Well, east. Napa County is directly above me. I'm 7 miles south of Napa, but in a different county. What's up, Jeffro? Bodan. Yeah, I go up that way a lot. I used to. Gas is so damn expensive, man. When I first got out of California, I did hundreds of miles of weekday and weekend road trips just to say I've been on every road in Northern California. But as gas prices go higher and my job opportunities lessened, that was the first luxury that got cut. But I used to go to a lot of different beaches in the southern part of Northern California and get what do you call that? Driftwood, and carve up driftwood in different shapes and shit like that. Hold on, I'll be right back. Like I'd get those old pewter characters that you'd have to play D&D. They're about 3.75 inch tall, and I'd paint them up, and I'd get these little pieces of driftwood and have a Dremel, and Dremel out little sceneries, and I'd set the characters up in there, and I'd sell those. What's up, Knackers? Hey, hold on, wait. This is for Knackers. Good morning, Stacker. I had to slurp my tea. It's for a show that Knackers and I watch called GMS. Good morning, Stackers. California time, about 4:30 p.m. he comes on. He does good technical analysis and chart reading on all kinds of good stuff. He's from Australia. That's why he's called Good Morning Stackers, and he comes on California time at 4:30 because the time difference is obviously a good 8 hours, actually 16, depending on which way you go. So, what else do you guys want to chit chat about? You heard of any more big ships burning down for insurance money? Oh no, they don't. They haven't burned down unusually large amounts for insurance money and left to burn. It's for some other reason. Someone else finally, I saw the YouTube show. Guy was saying, why hasn't people been paying attention to Warren Buffett? He sold more of his stock in the past fucking 3 years than ever in history. Even before the 2008 crash, he was selling his stock 2 to 3 years before this 2008 crash, and he's been selling more of his stock now than he did then. A good indicator, in my opinion, of what's coming. I'm very interested to see what January 1st, 2025 looks like, knackers, because that's the enactment start date of a 3-year time period for every bank to come into compliance with Basel III, the ending date being June 30th, 2028. So I think there's a significance to that, since they wrote up the law, the regulations for central banking, named as Basel III after the 2008 collapse. Yet they did that. They had them completed, all the documents completed by like 2011 or 12 or something like that. But they held off start of implementation till 2025 at the bull run of the precious metals market. So that's my concern, is why gold's gone up so much and silver hasn't even really started. Yeah. Well, you know what I've been telling people, Jeffro, and this is not financial advice at all, but it's damn good advice if you want to take it. That silver patent crystallized osmium. You will regret not having all 3 of those. And there's so many other great asset classes that are going to pop. The right stocks. There's going to be 2 or 3 stocks that are going to 100x it out there easy in a crash. Even before the crash. Crash has nothing to do with it. One of those stocks has to do with what the DEA and the Justice Department started on November 6th of 2024, when they got together and decided to work on decriminalizing or descheduling marijuana from a Schedule 1 felony to a Schedule 3 felony. And the legal terms of that is, as soon as they finish the legal rescheduling from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, it opens up marijuana or weed to be used for medical and industrial purposes. So why would a country do that, their legal system do that all of a sudden, if they weren't going to open up the industry of a medical industry, for which this president, oddly enough, on his first term promised he would make medical marijuana legal nationally, but he never did. But oddly enough, since November 6th, the DEA and Justice Department are working on being able to make that possible. So I'm hoping it only takes him like a year, which means by the end of this year, he'll probably be announcing that. And when he announces that, certain medical marijuana stocks are going to fly through the roof. So there's things that he's done, just like and I've already proven this with NNE, the company NNE Nanonuclear. 3 days before they jumped from 20 to 45, I told a buddy of mine, buy it. He said, why? I said, because it's going to double easy. He goes, why is it going to double? I said, because the president's going to be talking about nuclear energy and micronuclear. And damn sure enough, it factually happened. The guy saw it happen. He didn't sell at the top and rebuy back in and double his money, but he has started doing that since then. But there are things that are scheduled to happen that if you look at them, you'll know what's going to happen in the stock market because of those things said, who says them. Like, for example, the president's speeches. They're announced in advance what he's going to talk about. Most of the time, people have his itinerary for weeks in advance. Sometimes those things directly affect stock prices. If America is moving into the energy sector, then anything that's talked about from Congress, Senate, or the president on energy sector dominance or any part of that will make any part of that sector pump. Same with if the president talks about crypto, or if he talks about gold, it'll pump. You know, the biggest shill, be president. But it's not shilling because it's already, whoever was president was going to have those talks anyhow. It's just how much they bolster them or not present them as well, so that you don't pay attention to them because of other distractions going on. But if the other person had won, they'd still have to deal with the same things. They just dealt with them differently. But they would still have had to dealt with the same things because it was already preordained that those things were going to happen. By, like, again, the same enactment of Basel III was preordained back in 2011 when they chose at that point in time to give banks so many more years to fuck up before enacting stopgap measures to prevent another 2008 debacle. Why the fuck did they do that? Why didn't they implement them immediately to guarantee that there's no other chance of a 2008 financial collapse? Why did they wait so long? Why did they wait till the start of the biggest bull run in history as far as price-wise? There's a whole bunch of questions out there that should be asked and no one's asking, because it takes knowing to ask those questions. Oh, that's, of course, Jeff Bergoda. That's where micronuclear, see, it's all staged, like what I was just talking about. It's all staged. Data centers, power is going to be needed. Lots extra power. With the power grid's not able. Great. You know what that means? Buy OKLO, buy Dream Inks, buy Nano Nuclear Energy, because those stocks are going to skyrocket. And I've got a video I was going to show on Hawaii's power grid and how they would benefit highly if each one of their separate islands bought 3 to 5 micronuclear reactors to get themselves an extra 100 kilowatts or megawatts of power on demand. Of course, SoCal is up, man. They're more volatile, but they're gonna go up for a while. Jeff wrote, but they're gonna purchase several freaking micronuclear reactors so that when again, I was gonna show that video of how they just had a power collapse, or how the reason why they had a power collapse in Hawaii a couple of years ago, and this guy did a video on it. And then back then they weren't talking about micronuclear, but if you watch that video now and lay over the fact that we're getting micronuclear pushed on us, and you'll see that that's the obvious cure for the Hawaiian problem. So now that if you were to know that, you'd know that they're going to be buying a whole shitload of them, which means that other countries, other islands, other people are going to be looking at micronuclear, and it's going to be a big deal. It's a game changer. Stoner munchies, sorry. But yeah, these things they're preordained. You just got to look for them, not even know where to look. Hell, I stumble across most of the shit. You just got to look, and then ask questions when you see things stated. Ask questions. Just ask questions, and you come up with some interesting answers, and then you'll start making some interesting connections, and then you start making some better financial moves. From my perspective, you could wake up, trip over a fucking million fucking gold coins because they were dropped there from an alien. Who knows? But that's not typical economics. But have you been outside and looked around lately? Not too much is typical. More extraordinary, layered with a slap of stupid. Makes stoners feel better. Cheech and Chong be sitting back like, dude, everyone's fucking stupid now. They ain't even smoking. I probably have a cat outside. I have 4 cats at one window. So, anything else we can talk about? Oh, let's see. I'm bored about talking about China, but we can talk about China and how they are pathetically weak and how they'll never get their Navy more than 200 miles off the coast. Well, they'll be able to, but not in an aggressive way. Will they get their ships within 600 miles away from their shore before they're sunk coming to America? There's no way in hell they'll make it over. Let's talk about the new states of America. Too many, deja vu. Too many. System overload. 8 kiddies and 9 adults. One crying right now. His name's Silver. Typically, that many cats wouldn't get along because most humans don't know how to be a alpha pride leader like I do. Not that they don't get out of hand every now and then, but they all get along for the most part because they have to. I don't allow otherwise. Quiet. Silver pushes it the most. Actually, Tatina does. She hates Harley. They always, not always, but they fight quite a bit. But when I move and get more space, it'll be better. Especially if I get like 3 or 4 acres. Trust me, most of them will be outside cats at that point in time. Put up a fence line around 3 acres. Cat ain't gonna roam that far. Oh, the unrest. Hold on. Let me look at the liberal playbook and see how far along they are, and I'll tell you. Yeah, no, it's coming to an end because the financial backers have been discovered. So you're going to have more peaceful protests from here on out. Catitude. That's right, baby. Catitude. Yeah, it's a more televised unrest than actual unrest, and it's agitated through the use of the time-tested theory of stupidity pushed upon America, for which we are following. It's why I suggest everyone read Dietrich Bonhoeffer's letters known as the theory of stupidity. It'll help you prevent you from falling into that trap that's going on as we speak throughout the world, mostly in America. And if the less people that fall into it, less likely it'll be fully implemented. Because last time it happened, it was called unrest in Germany, the introduction of the brown coats, then a few years later, Nazis, and then Nazi Germany, and we all know what happened there. But what we don't know what happened there, and then here's a little history lesson for y'all. One big media production indeed, Jethro. As far as World War II goes, ask yourself this question, and this has been proven to be so. Hitler told his Nazi sympathizers here in America to stand down and do nothing during all of World War II to his final days. He told the Germans in America that he had that were still loyal to stand down. Why would he have done that? And let's see if I can't get a little leverage for myself. And as far as getting a photo that might exonerate my point. Because I have a map of German internment camps in America. Just like there was Japanese internment camps, believe it or not, there was German internment camps as well. Just no one talks about them. Oh, is this it? I'll be a son of a bitch. Here it is. Put it there for everyone to see. There we go. If you want to highlight your screen, during World War II, all these locations were locations where Germans were encamped just like the Japanese during World War II, but no one has ever mentioned the Germans that were encamped. And the reason why they were encamped, and I know that's the wrong word, is just I don't care about the right word right now, is because they were part of the German movement and part of the ones that Hitler told to stand down and do nothing. And no one knows about that part of history. And of course, you got to ask yourself a question at a point in time. Why? Why did he do that? Why is no one talking about this? Why have we apologized? 2 presidents officially apologized to the Japanese, but not one president has even mentioned the Germans that were in an internment camp. You know, interesting factual histories. And also lets you know that history is indeed written by the victors. So because America won, we don't know about the history of the German internment camps because the Germans were the enemy. Why would we tell their history, their story? Yeah, you see what I'm saying there, Jeffro? Wow. Dude, my cat's an acrobat. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of good friends in those days that are not talked about. Very interesting if you actually read history and don't take what people say as history. And what I mean, don't take what people say as your high school teachers. Don't take what they say as history. Probably quite a few of your college teachers as well. But, you know, those are people that want to do anything other than, you know, whatever people do when they don't want to learn. I'm weird. I like learning. Sorry. And I ask a lot of questions because that helps you learn. Actually, the best way to learn is ask questions. Well, not ask questions. Get answers after you ask the questions is the best way to learn. Yeah. And I was guaranteed. I went to the union meeting last night. I went in the back office, sat down at the desk of the business, all the business agents, business manager, and the president. I got guaranteed I'm going to get that job. It'll start first 2 weeks of January or July. So yay team. Hopefully it'll last through the end of the year. 58 hours, maybe more per week. Which means money, 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 money. Money, 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 money. And even better than that, because I'm a lucky son of a bitch, if the economy and stock market crashes, well, hell, every hour I work, $6 gets put into an account for me and gets put into Vanguard, my annuity, at the end of that month. So if the stock market crashes, I will start. What's up, Shad, Wolfenslegenstein, and Hausendorf? I will have money being put into the stock market after the crash, which means by the time I'll have access to that money, it'll have doubled. So sweet for me. But yes, I will be buying some gold probably in August. I'll probably buy 3, maybe 4, 2.5 gram bars. But I'll be buying it for my jewelry design, my gem design, not for an investment. Well, it will be an investment in my company. It won't be an investment for wealth preservation in a stack or anything like that. It'll be a use case. It's all good, Finn. We're all in to win. As long as you get in. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. But yeah. We did. One thing you might be interested in, Finn, you might want to go back and look at. It was the infrared contact lens. And Chad, I don't know if you'd be interested in that. We did about 15 minutes for the infrared contact lens, and possibility before that was about gold and why possibilities for why central banks are buying so much of it at this point in time. Again, another query I have about Basel III's enactment date. They knew when they wrote it up and had it finalized in 2011 or 10 after the 2008 financial debacle. Why did they wait 14 freaking years to start enacting it? It's like, do I ask too many questions? Because, or did they intentionally wait till the bull run of the precious metals market? Because they knew that central banks would be buying and buying and buying, artificially increasing the price of gold above and beyond the natural price in the gold market. These are questions I have. But anyhow, and then we were talking about showed Anton Petrov was talking about the contact lens, infrared contact lens that's apparently allows you to see the infrared in color rather than in the, like if you had a monocular or binocular infrared vision setup that you use as a monocular or binocular. It comes in red and yellow heat type signature, the typical infrared signature. Apparently, these contact lenses have changed the infrared and gotten it to the red, green, and I think yellow spectrum or blue spectrum, to where it'll be presented as color. So the infrared, it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I can't conceive what that would be like. I actually want to get a pair. I think it'd be interesting as hell to get a pair of infrared contact lenses. The advantageous of night walking for safety alone, knowing where people are who think they're hiding. I mean, come on. Tell me that's not an advantage. And you could be just anyone, and the technological advantage of having that over having some sort of special headgear that serves the same purpose, but yet visibly you don't have that gear, so you don't have the ability to have infrared, has now been wiped out from scenarios. So for defensive or offensive hijacking type scenarios, man, if I was like a security guard or a bodyguard for a high potential target person, I would want some of those. Traveling at night, walking at night, oh hell yeah. That industry is probably salivating at the teeth to get those infrared contact lenses. Get training on weapons using your infrared. Yeah, no doubt. You're probably gonna have night specialists. Protection teams? Night specialist protection teams in the future. I take one of those twice a year. Just because I'm a meat eater. I eat pork, I eat chicken, I eat beef. Potential for worm in any of those, or some sort of a parasite in any of those meats that you eat, is always going to be there. And your body typically can take care of all of those parasites because we have a very robust system. But I still, twice a year, take one just to help my system out, kill out any parasites or anything that my system's having issues with. That's not to the point where I notice it. That's a routine parasite flush, I guess. But that's what I do. I think I think everyone should, because it makes sense. It's a preventative. That's probably why they don't like it. It's a preventative measure. And who doesn't like prevention? Insurance companies. We'll just cancel you and take your money. Do whatever the hell you want. Yeah. Yeah. I think mine are 12 milligram. Like I said, I do it twice a year. Have for a while. And I've known it was safe for a while because the VA gave it to me back in 2000, I think 2012, 2013. I had plans to go to Zambia to introduce my mobile bee invention, mobile apiary. But that fell through. But when I called the VA and asked them if I needed any vaccines, they looked at my record and said, "Nah, you got all the vaccines you need for that area of the world. But we'll send you some hydroxychloroquine and some ivermectin with instructions for each." So the VA doctors sent me some ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine with their medical advice for each one of those pills. So I had this information back in 2013 before 2019, 2020 bullshit. And it was from the government. So like I didn't know that. And also I did research back then, a lot of research back then than I do now on Africa. And I found out that we provide over 1 million annually of ivermectin to Africa for parasitic population. And even all through Biden, all through every administration, we still provide them that many. It's obviously works and it's not harmful. Yeah, exactly. It's like, flushing your cooling system. It's always a good thing to do. It's preventative. Anything is a bonus. Eating real food, not processed food. Whew. That. Oh my God. Yeah. It's a little more expensive to go to the farmer's market if you have yourself a beef distributor at your farmer's market. We're lucky enough to have one out here. It's actually it's chunky changey, but man, we get pure grass-fed beef. It's like $13 a pound, but you know what you are what you eat. So, and if I go to Costco, I get 6 pounds for go down to the freaking farmer's market. I only get 3 pounds for $40. You going to bed, Deja Vu? Good night. You're loading up, Finn. Good for you, my friend. They're looking at cancer, and I did a video on this. The way they've always looked at cancer until it was a chronic disease, and that's how they approached it. And with the change of health and human services, I believe it is, from a transvestite person to a real doctor, this doctor has some freaky ideas. They're actually good, but they call them freaky. More holistic medicine. She's actually having the health department start looking symbolic perspective, and I can all just 25 by 2030 you'll hear cures for cancer because they approach it from a metabolic standpoint. What that means is, get down to it's nutritional medicine. And what's nutritional medicine? Mouth. That's as basic definition as I can give you. I was looking at my heartworm medication for my dogs when I had my dogs. It's the first ingredient is ivermectin. And they say once you give it to them, you're supposed to years, until they die. So it's a prolonged use of ivermectin, and it's got no side effects. No, they did not. It's again, I actually did a video on this too, Deja Vu. Jeffro. 1908, Rockefeller's personal lawyer went before Congress to write the law on medicine and how to diagnose and treat and all this other stuff. And he did a basic format of how the medical field for the federal government was going to be organized and instituted. Holistic medicines or nutritional medicines from that equation. And now you got to remember, it was Rockefeller's personal lawyer. 2008, Rockefeller started the first college of medicine where people paid him to that his lawyer created on his behalf for the government, so that the government would find and pass that knowledge on and treat it as doctrine. Do you see where we went? Where we took a left turn in Albuquerque here with our medicine, and who made us take that left turn at Albuquerque? And for, was it profit margin? Oh yeah, it was for profit margin. And there's some other cool key facts of history, like Kaiser Permanente, the hospital. You know what the start of the Kaiser company was in? Is World War II boat that we were able to create basically assembly line boats through Kaiser's in boat building, and we were able to take building a Liberty ship from like 9 or 11 months to down to like I think the fastest was 13 days or something outrageous like that. And the Kaiser company went from that to become companies, also known as the 6 companies that were contracted to build the Hoover Dam. And after that, he started building and owning and becoming a little healthcare person. You got that one right, Jeff. Or you got the take I was giving on it. I was wondering if you'd pick up on that Bugs Bunny term. Yeah, you made a left turn at Albuquerque, huh? Squeeze him and call him George. Another thing you got to know is if you research, do you Google research and find out what cancer can survive in and at what pH level cancer dies. The human body is, and find out how much you can adjust your pH and see if you can, using numbers, logic, and the research you get, and see if you can't. The knowledge like baking soda increases your pH and whatnot. You're not a human being, the natural pH levels that cancers live in, and see if you can adjust that. Food actually does adjust your pH, but by just adding baking soda, increasing your pH, and see if that would, using the numbers, the logical deductive numbers given from all those different studies, put it all together, would that not saying it will, by no means. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not suggesting anything of the sort. I'm just saying, if you put all these studies together, pretty much, they give you the answer. At least in my opinion, they do. I do it like once a month. Yeah, I do it like once a month, but I take a lot of, I'd say probably half my baths, my soaking baths, hot water baths, are baking soda. So I'm soaking in baking soda and hot baking soda, all my pores. So I do keep a high pH level because of that. So I don't do as much drinking of apple cider vinegar because of that, but I do it about once a month. Also cod liver oil, but I do that in the pill. And I don't do vitamins regularly at all. I don't do any pill regularly. You never want to get your body used to anything that you add to it or supplement it by. Well, it's circumstantive and individual, because everyone lives a different lifestyle and eats a different way. All right, well, we've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes. You guys have anything else you want to talk about? Yes, no, maybe? You got that right. That's all that dye and coloring. It actually got taken out by Kennedy and the health department. He's already banned. And I gave a list of all the. I think it might have been on Independent Mini Show. I gave a list of all the food colorings and dyes that the food health department has now banned in the United States. And I believe I also gave a list of products that you will no longer see on the shelves because of the banning of those food dyes. And the list of products, as far as junk food products goes, was quite high. And most of those products are also known for early childhood diabetes and lots of other issues. So America's fixing to get healthy again just by the lack of ability to cause ourselves cancer through bad decisions and choice makings by what we stick in our mouth. More importantly, what we allow our children to stick in our mouths. Let's see. What do I think about Liberty Finance interview? You guys said $70 silver in 3 to 5 months. That would be most excellent. What do I think? It's very possible. Because what that means is silver would sprint after the gold run. And that would end the first step of the actual bull market of a gold run that's supposed to last like a decade usually. And that's why I'm surprised it's ran so fast so far. Because I think we're in like the 7th year or some 6th year, something like that. 5th year maybe. But yeah, no, silver should be sprinting. It should have already sprinted. So yeah, I could very easily see 73.5 months. And the great thing about that is within let's see, in 1 month I'll be working. So in 6 weeks, I'll probably have 20 ounces of silver. So let it go up. I'm gonna buy last minute. I'm also going to be spending money on stocks that I like and crypto that I like that are ISO compatible, which just happen to be crypto that I like. Everyone actually should like that ISO 2020 or something like that crypto because they're regulated, which means they're accepted financially and backed by legal means of getting someone back if they take them from you. To where a lot of the other crypto is not like that. And that's going to make those ones soar as soon as everyone else figures that out. Or as soon as it's implemented, either of which will be a big boost for the price of certain cryptos. And they even give a list of the cryptos: Algo, XLM, HBAR, a couple others. Within a year, they'll fucking 10, 15, 20x. Almost guaranteed. Almost. There's always factors out there that can change things. Aliens could come down. That would change a lot of things. And, minus shit like that. Yeah, people do actually. They don't just throw around numbers. They make it look good for a particular lie, for a narrative. And then everyone gets on board. And by everyone, I mean those that are in charge get on board in the sale of that narrative for profit margin. That's why in every government ever created in human history, in the economics creation of that government, there has always been built in a black market, meaning that economics has truly never been a good thing for society. Because if you have to build in area for black market, that means that you don't have a good system, a true system that works. So you got to fudge it a little bit. And that's where the black market comes in. And every economy built in every government through every historical change of large empires, governments, or whatever, they've always had a black market. And that shows in the true essence that that economy was not functioning properly. Because a good functioning economy does not need a black market, yet every economy created is created with a black market. But we're used to that, so it's acceptable. It's just like taxes and tariffs. We're born with them, so we accept them. Until someone talks about change, and then people start coming to the negotiating table, say, "Whoa, okay, we'll change. We'll change." We're supposed to have contact in 2027, according to the Bashar guy. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. We talk about those, and I have already. This one scientist was talking about grabbing power from a different dimension and having a device, a powered unit that uses something from another dimension and the power to get it, some sort of a plasma fusion type thing. Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. And, alien or other than humanly, or, we'll find out. And all you can do when it comes to that kind of stuff is trust your gut. God has different plans for each and every one of us. So if your belief is that, aliens are demons and not angels and demons, either or both, then cool. If you think that aliens are just other creatures that God created in the vast universe, and the Bible is only to be for us on the human planet to a certain point, then you believe that. Cool. Everything is personal. And even, excuse me, even Chris Langan, and this is one reason why I really do love him as a philosopher and an intelligent intellect, is because he even says it. Every smart person's individual perspective that they're trying to sell is right, but where everyone is wrong is they don't perceive everyone else is also right, meaning that it's all encompassing and all consuming, not individual. And every philosophy flown out there, from string theory to everything else, it's not all encompassing. It's individualism in thought process. And the way Eric comes at it, or Chris comes at it, is everything is combined. You take everything and put it together and it works. You don't separate it out and say, this is it. And what people have been doing for the past 50 years or so, physicists more specifically, is trying to present themselves and their perspective as the one. That guy in the wheelchair, he tried his theory and he pushed it until he died, and then it got proven wrong. And then they went with some other like string theory, and it's already been proven wrong. And they're coming up with some other theory. And then Chris Langan comes along with this theory of everything and can prove it. Hello. Hey, what's up, Emerald? Sorry, man, I was running my mouth. Why are flies always fun to watch? What you ought to do is, if you can watch them, you should easily be able to smack them out of the sky if you understand the aerodynamics of how the wind works and how you can actually, just like in my last show I did on lightning, how it showed that the plasma from the lightning pushes, or it draws electrons from in front of it, causing it to be like a magnet that the lightning or the positive ions have to go around, or negative ions have to go around. That's why lightning doesn't travel in a straight line. Well, similar effect happens with wind and flat objects. There's an actual, your fist, your palm could be going forward, and in front of your palm, there's still a wind pushing in front of your palm. And what the flies, when they like jump, they actually jump when they're on a surface. They'll jump in a certain direction before they fly, and that gives them their inertia to cast in a fast manner in one direction or another. So if you understand that, and you understand that your palm, open palm, passes wind, you can semi-angle your palm and project where the fly is going to be with its natural jump by blowing in a certain direction guaranteeing it'll feel the wind so it won't jump in that direction. I mean, I slap flies out of the sky a lot. It takes a real quick math deduction on each one. It's all circumstantial, but there's a formula to be able to do it. What castle is that? I have no idea, but one day, Finn, I want to call that castle mine. But I have no idea. I believe it's in Michigan, but I'm not 100% sure. It would be beautiful to have, man. Oh my God. Yeah, that's a dreamy castle there for sure. 4-story in certain sections, 3-story in the main section. Probably no basement, but what it probably does have is, and if it doesn't, I would definitely think of adding it, is maybe like under that bridge in the front section where the stairs are going up, at the bottom near the water, have like a boat entrance and a dock, a protected dock that you could come in by boat and get out and have an entryway that way. Because believe it or not, above that archway, there's actually on the other side of that archway, there's a walkway straight across to the dry land. So there's 2 ways to get to that castle, not just that archway. So you could actually bring a boat in there. Actually, Chad, you need to watch my program I did on lightning, because it'll tell you a lot about what you need to do if lightning strikes within 50 meters of your location. It's got residual electrical impulses that go through the ground and dissipate up to 50 meters. And if you take like a 1 meter step, that's about 100,000 volts that'll hit you and probably knock your ass silly. So if there's a lightning bolt and you're pretty sure it's within 50 meters of you, take baby steps. Fast, but make sure they're solid baby steps, because the shorter distance between steps, it's like an arc. Your feet distance determines the voltage of the arc, because the ground after a lightning strike within 50 meters of every direction is highly electrified, and your feet are pathways for that power to go up and then back down. And the further a stride or step you have, the higher the voltage. The smaller the stride, the smaller the voltage. And the guy broke it down to where a 3-foot step is 100,000 volts. So if you take like 6-inch steps, you're at like 20,000, 15,000 volts, very survivable and still motionable, meaning you'll still be able to move. And after 2 steps, your second step, it will have already dissipated around you, and all of the electrons around you will have neutralized into ground because of you, and you'll be able to evacuate the area even safer. But a lot of people don't think about that type of thing. I do, because I'm going to be working with lightning. Dude, if you had a fireplace, Jeffro, that place would not be hard at all to heat. That stone would block most of the wind if you had it pointed properly and often to where it stayed in good condition. And on the interior, you had a separate like 2x4 wall, foam filled or something to where you wouldn't have any condensation, and it would have total blockage of any moisture. You could get a good seal inside that all those buildings. The only weak spots would be the windows, and those could very easily be sealed as well. Yes, static energy, exactly. Damn, Jeffro, I like you even more now. You understand shit. That or you saw my show. Yeah, I know you saw my show. You're always at my shows. And that's why Neil deGrasse Tyson was dead wrong when he said lay flat, because that's like 6 foot. You get hit with like fucking 500,000 volts, it would kill your ass. Well, maybe not kill you, but probably kill you. I don't know. I don't want to find out. Yeah, no, my thoughts are often on lightning and the prevention of that exact fact, because I am going to be working with lightning. That means I got a 50-meter fucking clearance after a strike. Dude, that's fucking scary, So I'm thinking, 1-inch rubber pad, 5 foot wide for fucking 60 yards, going to a platform that I have that's also covered with 1 inch of rubber that has lightning rod coming through that onto my stand with another piece of rubber that I could pull over the lightning rod to stop any positive ions from going up. Oh, I've been thinking about all kinds of shit, brother. It got more expensive the more I started. And when I first had this thought, it was just a simple contraption I could build out of fucking 4x4, 2x8, 2x12, plywood, shit like that, you know. Now it's gotten to where the more I'm learning about it, the more safety I'm putting to it, I'm like, crap, it's going to be a couple $1,000s. Bothwell Lodge, right on. Yeah, see, now that's the great thing. If the castles are built in the proper location, that is a consideration when they build them, is the ventilation from underneath the earth through your cave systems. And that's why most castles have dungeons, and dungeons actually aren't, their origination wasn't at the bottom of the castle, it was at the top of the castle. But through time, they were put at the bottom of the castles. Yep, chopping and stacking wood. That's why you got peasants and serfs. Yeah, geothermal, exactly. They knew about geothermal. And just like what we're finding out there, learning, those old timers knew a lot of shit from where the new images we're getting from underneath the pyramids. We haven't quite figured out exactly how much they knew or could do or integrated into their society, not knowing what the fuck it was. It's another possibility. Cat, what are you doing? Kittens are so inquisitive. You want to go to a creepy modern castle, go to the Winchester House. You guys ever heard of the Winchester House? There's a good story behind that. The wife of Winchester, the man who created the Winchester rifle, inherited all his wealth, and she built this house, this mansion. And she kept building until her dying day. She couldn't add on anything because she just got too big. So she'd have like doorways that open to nothing, hallways that go nowhere, stairs that lead up to the ceiling only, all kinds of crazy shit going on. Because her belief was, as long as she was building, the multitude of souls that were killed by her husband's invention of the rifle wouldn't harass her while she was on this realm of existence. And that's the purpose for why that Miss Winchester built the Winchester House the way it was built. She obviously had mental issues with her husband's means of making money. Oh, and there's stairs too. Stairs to nowhere, doors to nowhere. I think there's one door that opens up from like the 3rd floor into a 3-floor fall. It's all kinds of crazy shit. There's this one castle. Maybe I can get pictures of it. Let me see. It's a castle in Colorado. Let me see. I've actually been to it. This guy built it himself. See if I can't get some pictures of it. Yeah, it's called Bishop Castle. Let me get you to his official website so that way he can't fucking holler at me and get me a strike. I'm promoting his business here. Let's see, Bishop Castle. That's the one I want to share. There we go. Let me go back to StreamYard, see if you guys are seeing this. Put this on full screen. I've been that walkway there. I've been up there. I've been all over this son of a bitch. Back to Bishop Castle. Adventures to New Heights. Supposedly the single gentleman built it himself, and some of it's kind of sketchy. This walkway around here where you see after the word Heights at the level of the top of the S, there's a walkway around that tower. It's a little sketchy, but it's functional. And it says here, yeah, for nearly 60 years, Jim Bishop built, construct, and has been constructing one of the most impressive monuments of perseverance in Colorado, Bishop Castle. I still like that castle in my picture because it's more functional. Bishop Castle is not a functional place. It does have a kitchen, but for as big as it is, it's not hardly any of it's usable for living. Nice. Kind of like what I did in I don't know if you guys remember the company Sun Microsystems. They actually bought some land in San Jose area. It was the Agnew State Mental Institution. It had been built in the 1800s, late 1800s. And they bought the land and they were tearing down the mental institution. And I was able to get in there. And man, they had some immaculate stairways and handrails and doors and windows. And they were tearing the shit down, man. I didn't have a house to store any of this shit at. I was able to get one of the doors. The guy took it and gave me a shotgun for it. I figured it was a pretty good trade because I was never, I still don't have a house to this day. I'd have this massive, impressive wood door from the 1880s, 1890s. I kind of wish I still had it, but what the fuck am I going to do with it, I still have an 8-foot freaking double pane glass door in the freaking garage. I'm going to have to build a shed with an 8-foot opening just to use. Still brand new in the packaging, had it for years. Contractor ordered it, and then the client paid for it, said throw it away. I was like, fuck, I'm taking it. He goes, take it. I was like, hauled it off. One of the good things about being in the construction industry. Yeah, exactly, Chad. But yeah, then Facebook bought Sun Microsystems. And I don't remember if you remember the TV viewings when they were building Facebook. They actually paid iron workers to put up a fencing system, 1 mile radius, 20-foot high, privacy chain link fencing system with a backup system of a green mesh, 20-foot high, around Facebook while he built it. And he built it right over Sun Microsystems that I had built like 5 years earlier. I wasn't a part of building Facebook. I didn't want to go down to South Bay anymore. I was already tore up by fucking traveling. But I am going to be traveling down to Livermore for 7 months. There's historical shit to all that old stuff, man. It's not appreciated, and it's always disappearing. And it's heritage. It's part of our heritage. I believe it's in Philadelphia. I believe is where Graham Bell, I believe, don't quote me on that, his house is. That motherfucker, I went there to see it back in 95, 96. And the house was already gone. It had been gone for decades. Someone had tore it down. All it was where the house was. They had built downward a museum for Alexander Graham Bell, I believe, because that's where his house was. Because, again, we tear everything down. They didn't have his original house. They only had the land address where the house was, so they had to build down for his museum. Kind of pathetic, but, we always try to lose our history. Another reason why, England, Scotland, Europe, They all have fucking thousands of years old buildings and castles. Right on. Yeah, I bet nothing's looking at the sun right now. A couple of days ago, the Aurora Borealis hit fucking Northern California, man. We got hit by a G4 magnitude solar flare. Pretty fucking intense. Going to be a fun ride till the end of this year, my friends. Till, like I said, last year, probably end of Q3, everyone will start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and it'll come a little quicker than everyone anticipates, and it's going to be cool and great, and all this bullshit will be over with, and we'll be in a new type of bullshit. But at least we'll have a chance to make money, and we won't be left in the dirt. At least hopefully we won't be left in the dirt. Hopefully you're not listening to me. I don't give out any advice. I give out suggestions through sound research that I've done, because I never give out advice. It's horrible. YouTube gives me strikes for giving out advice, so I never give advice. I just give my personal research and tell you to do your own. Yeah. It's probably because the computers were having a problem with the magnetic fields. But one good thing about that, newer technology is going to come out to be more protective of magnetic pulses or electromagnetic pulses. That's always a good thing. You don't have to pay extra money to have your electronics protected from electromagnetic pulsing. All right, well, I'm going to end this, people. It has been a good 2-hour conversation. Yes, we share research and ideas, and that's where I suggest everyone research everything I say, because you'll find out your own stuff out of it, because we're all individuals that ask different questions and get different things out of things we read. Thus, going back to the Bible, you read the Bible 20 years ago, you read one passage, keep that passage in mind. 20 years later, you read it, you get a different definition, because different things have happened in your life. You've expanded, you've grown, you've become wiser, whatever. Different things happen over those 20 years to where it's a whole different meaning. The reason being, it's a different meaning for one person. Imagine if there's 3 people. Holy shit, there's different meanings for everybody? Yeah, it's personal. Another reason why I love Chris Lang-Gang. He even explains how that's factual. Biblically, we're not all supposed to get the same meaning out of it, because spirituality is personal. And with that, I bid thee adieu. Have a great weekend. I might hit you up on Sunday. Who knows? Keep an eye out for my streams. Thank you, Jethro, Finn, everybody, Chad, everybody, typical people that are here, typical people that aren't here. Thank you very much for showing up in my live streams. I do appreciate it. You guys all take care, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Good evening.